All right, guys. Happy Friday, everybody, and let's get into the next part of what we've got today. We're going to be talking about civil court, criminal court, and called something called redress. Basically, redress just means you're looking to get a problem remedied. You're looking to either get money because somebody broke something, or get money for services you provided, or it could even be just like we talk about in civil and criminal cases, just breaking the law and getting the redress from that. But we're going to start with just the two types of cases that we have, civil and criminal. So when it's a civil case, that's generally going to be something where you are having a dispute with somebody else, just two, civilians having a disagreement and needing to go to a court to get it remedied and get something, decided on. As you can see, divorce, estate settlement. When it comes to tort law, all that means is just rules of our society. So, for example, you pay rent when you have a lease that you are taking part in. If you don't pay the rent, the landlord will take you to civil court, and then you will be ordered to pay what is on the rent that you would owe. Now, obviously, if there's a way you can get out of that, that would be decided in that court as well. So, when it comes to civil cases, those are generally just two civilians. Could be more than two, but generally just two people that are needing to get something decided on. Now, if it's a criminal case, the difference there is now you're bringing the government into it, and you're bringing the prosecutor or the DA into it. As you can see, the picture we have with this little one, the O.J. Simpson chase, the chase in the white Bronco. O.J. Simpson was a very famous football player, came down and was alleged to murder his wife and one of their friends. And there was a chase where he was in a white Bronco, and the cops were just tailing him until he ran out of gas. He actually ended up getting home. But either way, that became a criminal case because of the murder that was committed for two people in that scenario. There was also a civil case that basically the big difference between civil and criminal. With civil cases, you're generally looking to get money. You're generally looking to get paid. When it's a criminal case, they're looking to send you to jail, or they're looking to figure out what happened. Now, going forward, just take a look at a couple of things here. Court proceedings, the complaint is the document that's filed. Basically, you just whoever is bringing the case will file the complaint, and they'll explain what happened, why they believe they're entitled to money or items or whatever they feel they're entitled to. That person is the plaintiff. That's the one bringing it. The defendant, the person who it is being brought against. So the defendant's person apparently did something wrong, and the plaintiff feels that they need to be getting some money or something else out of this. Now, if the defendant feels that they were wronged as well, they can file what's called a counterclaim. If they file a counterclaim, it just means, okay, you sued me, I'm going to sue you back, and one of us is going to win. You can sometimes get rulings for both parties, but generally not going to happen. So generally, whatever side wins, if the complaint is ruled in favor, then the counterclaim is generally dismissed. If the counterclaim is ruled in favor, then the complaint is generally dismissed. And when we say dismissed, it just means they're saying, no, you're not going to be getting anything for that. Now, when it comes to what is called preponderance, that is going to be what you have to prove to win your case. So if it's a civil case, you really just have to get the judge to believe you more than the other person. It's called the preponderance of believability. We say 51-49% because that's all the judge has to think. If they 51% think you did do it and 49% think you didn't do it, then they're going to rule that you did do it. If it's a criminal case, that is not going to be the threshold. You have to have a much, much more defined and definite case in a criminal case because they say beyond a reasonable doubt. With that, if it's 51-49 in that case, the person's going to be ruled as they are not able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. If you want to think about it in percentages, I would think maybe 80-20, 85-15, beyond a reasonable doubt. If you have any doubt in there, really not going to be able to get that in the criminal case. When it comes to O.J. Simpson, in his criminal case, he was found not guilty. But in the civil case, he was found guilty and then had to pay out the families of the people who were murdered a lot of money. That can happen quite a bit and does happen quite a bit because of that difference in the preponderance. When the O.J. Simpson case happened, it was pretty split down the middle in America, whether you thought he did it or not. Now, when that happens, that is going to mean there is not a reasonable doubt. So the criminal case is why he was ruled innocent in that one. When it comes to the civil case, he was ruled guilty in that because most people believed that he had done that. But unfortunately for the criminal prosecutor, they could not prove it beyond a reasonable doubt in that criminal case. Now, when we go to a couple of types of lawsuits that we've got, civil court, when we look at that, that's your stereotypical Judge Judy setup. You've got one judge, you've got two people, or the plaintiff and the defendant, and they're telling their sides of the story. The judge will ask the questions back and forth and say, okay, you said this, what do you say? How do you respond to this? And then the judge will make their decision. Their decision is final. There are not any appeals that are allowed for civil court, and there is a maximum that you can win. Now, it's usually going to be $5,000, but depending on, I guess, the severity of what the crime is or what the redress you're looking for is, that can go up. The civil case that O.J. Simpson had to pay out, he paid out much more than $5,000. I don't have the exact number, but it was definitely six figures at least. Now, when it comes to a class action lawsuit, class action lawsuits are a little different. Class action lawsuits are when a large number of people have been hurt or unhappy with a product that they've got. Now, unhappy is probably not a good way to put it. But if the product is defective and causing injury or causing harm or anything else like that, or causing damage to other items that you have, class action lawsuits can happen. Now, the picture that you see there for the class action lawsuit is a Pinto. It's a Ford Pinto. Ford used to make that car quite a bit. A lot of people were buying them. The issue with the Pinto was if the Pinto got hit from behind, the gas tank was not really in the correct spot. It was the car, obviously, as you can see, is a little compact. The gas tank was a little too close to the rear, and if it got hit from behind, it exploded. And obviously would then kill everybody who was in the car. When that happened, they actually proved that Ford knew the Pintos would explode if they were hit from behind with enough force, but they basically did a cost-benefit analysis and said, we're okay with X amount of people dying because we can make this much money off of the car. And then we'll only have to pay out this many settlements and we'll still make a good profit. Class action lawsuits can happen for a lot of things. It can be cars. There's a lot in the electronic sector, and when it comes to computers and things like that, that you can have a class action lawsuit for. It's basically, though, everybody's realizing that this product is not good, and it's starting to have some negative effects for people. When you are seeing a opportunity for a class action lawsuit, you just have to do basically what's called joining, and you have to just file as part of that class action lawsuit, and then when that decision is made, everybody gets to split the judgment. So there were quite a few people that did get some money from the Pinto fiasco, but obviously not for the reasons you'd want. Now, when it comes to other ways you can get redress, there is negotiation. If the parties can negotiate and you don't have to go to court, then that will resolve it. Now, mediation and arbitration are very similar, but they are starkly different. So when it comes to mediation and arbitration, you're bringing in a third party to listen to what you're explaining as your situation. So basically like the judge, but not a judge. When it comes to mediation, the mediator will then propose a solution, and if both parties agree, then the solution is done. You do not have to go with what a mediator says, though. Now, if it comes to arbitration, when an arbitrator comes in, it's the same setup, same way that you'll go through it. But in that, binding arbitration is usually the way it happens, and that is mandatory. This most of the time will happen with contracts in sports. A lot of times if teams and players cannot agree, they'll bring in arbitrators, especially in baseball, and then they will decide, well, this is the contract you should get, and this is what the club has to pay you. Now, we're going to take a look at a couple of questions for your assignment today that I'll explain, and then we'll take a look at life happens for the rest of the week, and that'll be it for today. Your assignment will be due Sunday by midnight, and we'll just take a look at it right now. This one is looking for examples of cases or court cases that you can find. So for the first one, finding a famous class action lawsuit, the only thing is you cannot use the Pinto lawsuit, but you got to find another class action lawsuit and just explain who the plaintiffs and the defendant were, what the judgment was, how much they had to pay, and what each plaintiff got. Now, sometimes they have to do more than pay. If they did, let me know what they had to do for that. For small claims court, explain the disagreement, what the judgment was, and if you agree with the judge's decision. If you're having some trouble finding some cases, all Charleston County courts and all county courts keep records of all the cases that they go through, generally for the year, but that's where I would go first. If you don't just go to Google and Google small claims court examples. For number 3, finding a famous criminal case, you just can't use the O.J. Simpson case. You can use any other case you like, though. Tell me what the person was, or who the person was, what they'd been charged with, when it happened, and what the result was for that. For number 4, give me a scenario from your life where you would have or did seek redress from a person or entity. You don't have to go to court to seek redress. You basically just have to find a scenario where somebody did you wrong and you are looking for them to basically make it right. If you don't have an example in your life, then make one up. You can do that. For number 5, find an example of a mediation and explain what the disagreement was, what the mediator proposed, and if they followed that recommendation. Again, with 5 and 6, I would just look for examples of mediation and examples of arbitration. And then for number 6, explain an example of arbitration. Like I said, that I would look in Major League Baseball and sports for arbitration first. But again, there are plenty of arbitration cases that you can find. Now, with that, we got one more thing to do. We'll finish out Life Happens for the week, and then it'll be on to the weekend. So let's just jump on over to good old Mimic. And we've got 2 days of Life Happens to do. So 6 people from period 1, 8 people from period 2. Make sure we can see everything we want to see. So here we go, 6 people for today. Alex first up. Grandmother gives you $100. Not a bad way to end the week. Jacqueline coming up next. Work party contest, winning the Halloween contest, getting $250. Next one up is Ryan. Ryan, it is twins. You do not have a redraw. I would have definitely redrawed that one. $400 added to the monthly budget. But that is no redraws there. Number 4, Dylan Parker hitting the half-court shot. $2,000 added to your checking account. And number 5 today, Anthony Tank Campbell. No cavities. You have to pay for that one out of pocket. $50 though. That one not bad. We won't worry about a redraw there. And then last one for this week, Dylan Smith, you hit the jackpot. $300 at the slot machine in the gas station at the motel. Better than nothing, but maybe what it feels like when you say jackpot and you see $300. Now going to period 2 for today. We got 8 people that we're looking at to end out the week. Kane, first one up, identity fraud, but he does have a redraw, so not going to take a $5,000 hit there. And look at that, a $7,000 switch as it's a $2,000 bump in the checking account. Eric, you're up next. Bull market, the stocks for this class just jumped. So that is always good. Kenneth, you're up. Analyze this. Getting some help for your gambling addiction. Unfortunately, your insurance doesn't cover it. But you do have a redraw, so we'll give you a redraw for that one, $500. Ooh, booming metropolis of Fargo, North Dakota. $1,000 for that one. Number 4 today, D'Angelo. D'Angelo getting a cat, $20 added to the monthly budget. We'll definitely stick with that one. Josie coming up here. Josie getting a cat as well. Everybody adopting some nice little felines here. Taven getting the MRI. MRIs are terrifying, $2,000 for that one. That's going to hurt. John Cromwell up next, hypochondriac. No one gets sick this often, $400 for that one. And that'll be accepted. And then last but not least, for today, Sylvia, Six and Stones. And good thing for you, you've got a redraw. We'll use that one. And a bank error in your favor, $100 added to the checking account. So that is it for today. Have a great weekend. Make sure you get the assignment done by Sunday at midnight. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. We'll see you on Monday.